Genesis 1 through 11 was either, written during the exile or was heavily edited, again, using the Akkadian Babylonian material to articulate a polemic.
Hey everyone, this is Joseph. Welcome to the channel. We're going to take a look at an article about this disc relating to the Hydra and the magnetic field. It says after a star is formed, the remaining dust and gas is trapped in orbit, forming a rotating disk or torus around a young star. When studying the disk of TW Hydra, a visible gap in the disk was apparent. This was best explained as being due to the effects of a growing unseen planet. The Greek constellation of Hydra is an adaptation of a Babylonian constellation.
Moses isn't carrying a tray of cuneiform tablets along with him, during the Exodus, because a lot of the content in Genesis does hook into Babylonian texts. And if that's the case, well then, since that's part of the Torah, then, you have the same question arise for different reasons, about the rest of the Torah.
In the book of Isaiah 14:12, the original text has the name Hallel. How art thou fallen from heaven, Hallel?
Hel is a giantess and the daughter of Loki. Her mother is Ankeboda. She is a giantess from Jotunheim. It was Odin, the chief of the Aesir, who threw Hel down into the underworld. Hel then made the underworld into her own realm and crowned herself the queen of Helheim. The entrance to Helheim is guarded by the dog named Garm, which means hellhound. The dog is bound in a cave.
So I realized that I better have a look at that book, so the day after I bought it, The Poetic Edda. The first time I read it, I was thrilled, and the second time I read it, I was even more thrilled, and I am still thrilled every time I read it. To realize that my preconception about these myths being childish were wrong. Also, to my surprise, I discovered that female characters were extremely important, and I realized that there was a spiritual treasure here, if only I could find it. And I read it over and over again, wondering why it still didn't make the sense I knew it was supposed to make. I bought another translation and found new insights there, but still, it was as if lots of the pieces of a puzzle were missing, so quite obsessed, over the next year I bought and borrowed all the translations into English, Norwegian, Swedish and Danish that I could find, and with every new translation I realized that everybody were translating the same poems differently, and that although it helped to read various translations and compare them, there was still something important missing. And one day I realized what was missing. It was the translation of names, the names of characters and the names of places and of objects. They all had names that meant something, yet those names were hardly ever translated. And I figured, if the names had meaning in Old Norse, it meant that the Old Norse people knew those meanings and understood them. It meant that we were not getting even close to hear what Norse people had heard unless we translated names. So I could give a lot of examples, and I have been giving a few examples before. It all began to give a new meaning. I mean, my translations gave a new meaning to every myth I read, and on it went. All the names in the Edda are meaningful and metaphorical, and it surprised me to realize that this understanding was non-existent. If I looked into a modern Norse dictionary, I could look up the name of a giant only to read that this was the name of a giant, as if I didn't already know that. to actually find out what the name of that giant meant, I often had to look at dictionaries dating back to the 19th century. Later, when I got into serious academic studies and so forth, I realized that the book we know as the Prose Edda by Snorri Sturluson was an attempt to explain how to understand the metaphors that are found in the older poetic Edda. That which, according to Snorri, was hidden in runes, runes meaning words or secrets. Now, Snorri's Edda is a great introduction to Norse mythology, but you have to be aware that he was making a desperate attempt to preserve the mythical lore of his ancestors without offending the church.
Thanks for watching. And let me know if you would check out a 10-minute game of Pokemon Unite with the world's best narrating.
Spare no expense.
Arigato. Matane.